Hi, this is Dana with Dana Meyer Consulting, and I'm here today to talk to you about one of the most important and sometimes one of the most challenging relationships you'll have at work, especially if you're a leader. And this is the relationship that you have with your executive assistant or your administrative assistant. So we've all seen leaders and assistants that when they work well together, it's almost like its own magic. They just have this symbiotic way in which they operate. And the office and the team are always on the right track, things move smoothly, and it's something that people look at sometimes with envy going, wow, I really wish I had that kind of assistant. And a lot of the assistants also are looking at their leaders wishing that they understood how to leverage them better. So today I'm going to give you 5 tips on how you and your assistant can work even better together. So the first one, it really comes down to being clear in your communication and asking for what you want or need versus assuming that the other person gets it or should know. It's a really basic concept, but it's amazing how many times we tell ourselves these stories about, well, they should know that I need this, or it should be obvious that this is happening and so X, Y, and Z need to occur. So as you start working closer together, yes, many of those things will be assumed and you won't need to state things, every single time. But if things are just not on the right track with you and your assistant, I really recommend just go back to the basics. Ask for what you need. Say, I need this done by this time, and here's maybe how I'd like to have it done. So remember the who, what, when, where, and also the why. I find so often that a lot of assistants get really frustrated with their leaders because they need a little bit of context so that they can get it right the first time versus turning it in and then getting the feedback about, no, I really need this to be this way because of this. So it's that because that's really important because it allows them to get it done right the first time. So the second point is a lot of times we may ask for something to be done, and for whatever reason, we're kind of blocking the support that's coming to us. So that receiving the support is also an important thing that sometimes leaders get in their own way. And it's that I'm just going to do it myself, or it's easier or faster for me to just do it myself versus explaining what I need. I get it, yeah, that probably is true. But if you do that every single time, then why do you have an assistant and why do you have a team? So it does take a little bit of coaching at first, but give yourself kind of that longer term focus because in the end it really is going to serve you better to have someone supporting you and allowing yourself to receive that support. Because deep down that's really what you need the most. Otherwise your calendar, your to-do list, it's just going to become unmanageable. So the third thing, basics, be appreciative. Being an assistant is a really hard job, and especially if you haven't found your groove yet in terms of your partnership. Say please when you make a request. Say thank you when it's turned back into you. Like really show your gratitude and appreciation for how your assistant is helping to make your life easier and making the team more effective. A little bit of courtesy goes a long way, especially when you hit those little speed bumps and you're going to need to kind of take advantage of that goodwill that you've built up over time. So again, please and thank you. Basics, and they don't cost anything. The fourth one is you need to have ongoing communication between yourself and your assistant. And it doesn't even need to be that complicated, and you can figure out what works for you, whether maybe getting together once a day in the morning, maybe once a week on Monday or Friday, or as needed. But I think there's an opportunity to not only talk about just the tactics of what needs to get done, but also how you're going about getting the work done in partnership with one another. So this conversation could be really as simple as, hey, let's talk about what's working well in terms of the way in which we're communicating and getting work done. What could we do better? And for each of you, what's the one thing I could do that would make your job so much easier? And to really have an honest conversation with one another so that you can hear from each other's perspective how things could get even better over time. So it doesn't that's not a complicated thing to do, but rarely do I see leaders and their assistants taking the time to talk about how they're getting that work done. And it really is kind of that magic formula to get to that really great relationship where things are just moving so smoothly. So the fifth one is for those of you that are out there that know you're kind of at that point where you desperately need an assistant. I remember the first time I was in a point where I was moving from being an individual contributor to a leader, and my desk and my to-do list and my calendar and my travel, like everything was starting to just like overwhelm me. So if you're at a point where you're ready to hire your first assistant or potentially hire a new assistant, I think it's important to really be clear about what it is that you need in order for that person and yourself to be successful, and what would be icing on the cake. A lot of times I find that leaders are looking to hire someone that's really similar to them. And I would recommend like challenging yourself on that a little bit, because oftentimes the relationship that works even better is when you're hiring for those areas of your own skill set or your own personality or work style that are maybe holding you back. So hiring for the gap of what you need to fill. So for example, I'm someone who usually is very organized. I'm pretty clear about how it is I want to get things done, but I usually have an awful lot going on and I can get quite overwhelmed. And when I look at the assistants that I've had in the past, it has always worked really well for me to have someone who's super organized, so we're paralleling on that, but someone who is always calm, consistent, kind of that, the lighthouse as the storm is happening, so that it helps me to anchor that this is okay. Like I may have a lot on my plate, but they've got this handled, this travel's already lined up, everything's taken care of. That's something that I need. But I've also seen leaders where they're maybe a bit more laid back, a little bit more casual, and they kind of need an admin that can go out there and like make things happen and sometimes be even a little bit more aggressive, because it's counterbalancing their personality and work style, and the two of those things together are a winning combination. So again, these are 5 tips to really help you think about developing an even stronger partnership between you and your assistant. I hope you found these tips helpful. And if you're at a point where you could use some coaching or consulting support behind the scenes so that you can be your best in front of your team, email me. I'd love to hear what's going on for you in your business and how I might be able to support you. So with that, this is Dana signing off. Have a great day.